Another Sunday morning, another We Outside live cast, another authentic artist out here with myself and my brother Dooney. Welcome to the family, Stephonne. We're going to give you an introduction here. We're going to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself in your own words as well. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are tuning in for the first time, or even if you're not tuning in for the first time, either welcome or welcome back to the We Outside live cast, where we are a platform of conversation, authentically built, unscripted. We have no questions prepared because we are just humans who want to have conversations with other humans. And today, as we always do, we have a human being with us by the name of Stephonne, who also happens to be an artist. And we are very much going to get into his artistry and the artistry of Stephonne as a whole. Follow this individual on Instagram at lovesick_writer, literally spelled out as you would spell it, lovesick_writer, all after that @ sign. So we're definitely going to get into that. Stephonne is an individual who very much is a music artist. Stephonne does a little bit of acting as well. Stephonne is somebody that very much embraces what his path is. And we are very much going to talk about that today, especially the new single that dropped on Friday as well. Worship at the Chapel. And I have my thoughts and feelings, and I appreciated what you did there. And we're going to get into that at whatever point of the conversation that the path leads us. But with that said, good morning to you, Stephonne. Good morning for joining us and trusting us to have this authentic conversation with you. And of course, as always, to our co-host, my brother Dooney, aka John Windham. Top of the morning to you, bro. I know it's a little early out your way. You got some beautiful things that you are preparing for in a couple weeks. So we are excited for you as well. But with that said, Stephonne, go ahead and you let the people outside here know who you are in your own words and what you're about, and we'll just start a conversation from there.
Man, I'm Stephonne. I'm a child of God, born and raised in the Wyandotte County, Kansas, poorest county in Kansas. That's my cat behind me. That's Benny. And I'm a singer-songwriter. I'm a cultural producer. I am a generative performing artist. I'm a multidisciplinary artist as well. So, as you mentioned, I also act and love theater, love film. I hope that I get to do a lot more of that. I really know deep down in my heart that an EGOT is in my future, that it's mine. I am a disruptor. I am a light, and I think that light disrupts. And there's a lot of darkness out here, and there's a lot of us that want to live in the darkness. And I've been there, and I'm just not interested in it anymore. I'm just not interested. I'm honest. I am a person that really champions social justice, and I want to see everyone win. And I just can't stand when people don't want to see everybody win, or people don't want to see someone else win because it means that their win will look a little different. You know, um, I am queer. I am unapologetic. I am sexually liberated. I am comfortable in my skin and getting more comfortable every single day. And I am someone that was chosen to break my generational curses. And I'm just so blessed and so happy to be here. So thanks for having me.
No, very, very, very much a privilege for us to share this platform and conversation with you. And a lot of things that you said, very much are on brand with me as an individual, and I know Dooney as well, with respect to things such as social injustice, breaking generational curses, as well. I've followed you for a minute as well, and a couple weeks ago, the 3-part series that you put out about healing from trauma that you experienced. As a young individual growing up as well. So I very much appreciate, that part of you and you being willing to embrace that fully as well. Dooney, what are your thoughts, right? I mean, when you hear the word social injustice, when you hear about breaking generational curses, I know you have your experiences no different than I do, or Stephonne as well, but, just what does that initially kind of make you think?
I mean, when I hear it, I hear soldier, right? I think soldier because That's what it's going to take in order for us to champion through all these things that we're being subjected to in this world today, right? And anyone that's for that and about that is a fellow soldier of mine, man, is a brother of mine, right? Because uh, injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere, right? So we have to snuff it out, right? Wherever we see it, and it takes courage. Uh, and I love that he speaks up for that and showing up for that because that make him my teammate.
Hey.
In
and
this
that's
life, you need that, man. It takes forward thinking and courage, and love, really, um, to change all this, right? To change any social injustice, whatever, and to see he's on that path is honor, because it's not enough that is pushing, but enough of us that can change the way things are, for sure.
No, man, I appreciate that. And I think, what you both
Mhm.
said there with respect to that, that's the winning formula, right? And Stephonne said it. And I've followed you long enough. I've gotten to know to this point enough your story that you're someone that truly means that. You're not someone that's just saying that. And I appreciate that about you because I've lived in that darkness that you described as well. And man, it could be a scary place, it could be a lonely place, but at the same time, on the flip side, bringing that light to that darkness could also be a lonely path as well. But I have very much embraced it because I've gained power from taking that lonely path of shining that light, through the darkness and taking back my power as well. So I'm just curious what that path has been like for you when you took that determination and stands to be like, hey man, fuck all this darkness. I'm literally just gonna go ahead and walk my path of light because that's really what it seems like to me. And I'm just curious what that experience has been like for you.
I mean, just hearing you say take back and reclaim your power, that's exactly what it is. It's taking back and reclaiming, or not even taking back, it's realizing your authentic power, you know? And then once you're in tune with source and with what is actually yours, what is natural power, not the power of money, not the power of a million accolades, not the power of 1,000 friends that are not really your friends. Like
Mm-hmm.
I just really thought, because of a lot of the life that I've walked through and a lot of the generational curses of my family and them being really concerned with all of the struggles that Black men and women raising kids have to be concerned with, especially in the late 80s and in the 90s. They just didn't really have the time to take to devote to me, and make sure that I had everything that I needed and that I was as loved as maybe I could have been loved. And I think that is also reflected from them not being able to be loved in all of the ways that they should have been loved. And that takes time to see. And that takes a lot of, being far away from home
Mm-hmm.
and growing up and being able to see how crazy growth and becoming an adult is. Like, it really is so insane. So because of that, not really being there at home, me not really knowing my power at home and knowing my power within myself, I just succumbed to a lot of darkness and a lot of trying to be in the in crowd and a lot of trying to be and say and do the things that I thought would make people happiest and that I thought would make people welcome me and want me, because I just didn't feel wanted. And everything in our society, everything in our society is so homophobic and is so racist, and even in my own neighborhoods, you know, around the other black kids in the ghetto, because that's where I grew up, child. I went to private schools, not of my own accord, but because that's where my grandparents and my mom sent me, you know, and I'm grateful for it. But I was never black enough, you know, for those people. And I was too effeminate. You know, we weren't having conversations about embracing divine feminine and divine masculine back then. You know, you needed to be hard, you needed to be rough and tough and tumble. And I was in my own way, but never in a way where I was scrapping with anyone or, you know, bragging, talking about how I could beat somebody's ass, you know, because I knew I wasn't beating anybody's ass. You know, like that just wasn't in the cards for me.
Yeah.
And so for me, I really always was fighting against this image I think that my father really wanted of me, which was this really strong black athletic sports player. And I knew that there was something else for me, and I knew that it was art. Art just always really moved me, and I could never really explain why, but music was a huge part of our household. And music was such a light, and it was such a way that I was able to find any kind of strength or conceive of a way out
Hmm.
of what I was going through, you know, at home or the ghetto or my troubles. I would see Prince and Purple Rain. I would see my dad watch Michael Jackson videos all of the time and Whitney Houston performances and just like yell and scream at the TV and give these people that adulation. And I was like, oh my God, like I want that. And not just because my dad was showing them more love than he showed me, but because I saw how those people moved and affected so many other people with the stories of their lives. And I remember even as early as 6 or 7 watching Lady Sings the Blues with Diana Ross and just seeing the story of Billie Holiday and seeing someone that had been through molestation and had been through a lot of just her family not seeing her worth and then getting into the real world and the real world looking at her as a menace as someone that really irritated them. And I just identified with her disrupting light in her rebellious spirit. And ever since that young age, I just would find everything in my parents' vinyl collection or CD collection and would go to the library. I think I was reading the actual autobiography, Lady Sings the Blues, in like the 8th grade, which is like super young. My parents got a lot of notes from my teachers that were, Stephonne, is Stephonne okay? You know, like he's 8 and he's reading about the story of Billie Holiday. Like that's a pretty intense book. I have read it 3 times over now throughout the course of my life. And, you know, I thought it was at the bottom of a bottle too for a really long time. I went to college and drank my ass off. You know, I was a party animal because I just wanted to not feel everything that I needed to feel. A lot of sadness, a lot of regret, a lot of shame. And I just, if I wasn't drunk, I was, you know, just drowning in it. You know, and so I took that from college to Kansas City when I finally moved here, and I was majoring master's program through Full Sail University entertainment business. I majored in music in college, and through all of that I just was never able to really like give it my all because I was giving my all to all of this other bullshit, you know, all of this other people pleasing, all of this other wanting to be accepted and wanting an easy way because life had frankly been pretty hard. But I didn't realize at a certain point, and I think that a lot of us don't realize at a certain point that we do have agency and autonomy and that we're
Hmm.
actually just making life harder for ourselves. Like it's in our own hands. And instead of pulling ourselves up, we just smush ourselves down and we just make ourselves so small. We just it's just so awful and so horrible. And I just did that for years, even on stages, even doing drag. I was one of like the featured drag queens, and I thought that that was just like the bee's knees, you know.
Mhm.
And because of that, and because of that kind of like short term vision and acceptance of that acceptance, I really lost sight of Stephonne, and I really lost sight of my dreams to do what I had seen Prince doing, and what I'd seen Billie Holiday doing, and what I'd seen Tina Turner doing, and what I had really seen my heroes doing. And music was always my life. And I kind of just like let adversity and local politics and a political exclusive music community and theater community really keep me from standing in my power. I just really was not centered. I was not in my seat of power of my soul. And I had enough. Enough was enough. You hit rock bottoms so many times, and the only way is up. So I think it was right before the pandemic. And I'd lost my dad in 2016. And I just shut down. I remember hearing the news, and I came from a family of just not criers and people not showing emotion. And my mom was
Mhm.
notorious for that. My mom was just so unemotional. And it was because she was trying to just like get through and didn't want to feel the things that maybe she needed to feel as well. And so she called me on the phone and told me I was on a lunch break at work, and I just shut down. I was just like, no, I'm not crying. And I didn't cry for years and years after that. And I remember right before the pandemic, I had really like had this like crazy night out, this fucking crazy night out. I was so wasted. And I remember those mornings and waking up just being like, oh no, what did I do? What did I say? Like, who did I offend?
Mhm.
What did I do? What did I do? Why do I keep doing this? And I just broke down, and I told my dad I loved him and that I forgave him and that I got it, because so much of the behavior that I was exhibiting was behavior that I had seen. And there was so much I wasn't accepting because I couldn't accept him, and because I couldn't accept my mother, and because I couldn't accept the things that I had walked through or went through as a kid. And I knew that the only way through was to accept it and to let
That's
it
where healing
pass.
begins, right? That's where
Yeah,
healing begins.
I had to let it pass through me. And so since then, I've just really been on my P's and Q's, and I've really been focused on being true to me and understanding what that means, and spending quiet time with myself and praying and meditating and breathing and getting out into nature, and not going out to a million bars and a million events to be seen.
Mhm.
Focusing on my craft, my voice, reading. I just want to be better. And I knew that for a long time I wasn't really invested in that. And I want more people to be invested in that.
No, I appreciate that. And there's a couple different things that you said there that stick out to me. Um, certainly growth, elevation, acceptance, and all the things that I can take out of that. It really comes up to one thing. And shout out to young Vincetti tapping in with us, and talking about accountability, right? You took accountability for what you feel you needed to, right? But that comes with the growth of emotional intelligence, which not a lot of people, even when you were talking about being 8 years old and reading the story of Billie Holiday, it very much reminds me. Me and Wifey P have an 11-year-old daughter, and she is very emotionally intelligent. And Dooney, I know you. I mean, you've met Jupiter, of course. I mean, I know you could testify to that. But I'm also curious, Dooney, because you with what you do day to day, I'm curious to see what your thoughts are on the experiences that you have experienced with children of a certain age who most adults, kind of like Stephonne was talking about, wouldn't necessarily view this, 8-year-old Stephonne or, my 11-year-old daughter and, all the grandchildren and young ones that you got in your life, Dooney, as well. Discuss what your experience has been, if you could, to emotional intelligence, I guess, in general, but specifically where you have viewed it in, individuals at an age who people are like, no, you like, no, you shouldn't be thinking like that as an 8-year-old. But again, emotional intelligence is emotional intelligence. I mean, we talk about and we celebrate, kids who are 11, 12 years old going to college, for example, and graduating college and getting all these, well, it's really the same concept, but it's outside of the norm, right? So I'm curious, Dooney, what your thoughts are on emotional intelligence, in that of younger individuals.
Well, as society normally does and puts upon us, it taught us to suppress emotion. It taught us to suppress feelings. If it isn't anger or rage or hate, any of that type of thing, it's like you have to suppress it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I can't be intelligent about anything that I don't experience. I don't allow myself
Mm,
to it. And this young man, as a child, right? And I say he been here before.
mhm.
Some children have that natural gift or ability. I mean, they just came from God, right? And so I understand, right, that age means nothing when it comes to a person's feelings and being able to articulate how they feel or interpret, right? That was an introspection as a child. He was able to do introspection. That's the delve into self and understand what they're discovering, right? You got adults that haven't did that and still self-medicating. He was his own doctor, he was his own therapist, he was his own psychologist, he was his own counselor.
And that's a lot to take in because I've been there before as well. When we talked about it briefly, with Cedric Carter 1700 last Sunday. But you're right, Dooney.
Ah!
Right? Right?
You hit
Yeah,
you hit
Hell,
the nail. Like,
hell,
because think about it.
that's it.
young self did that, right? But the
Mhm.
power, like he says, is in you.
The
Is in
antidote is
you.
always within the host.
He discovered that and just shared it with the world, right? And I say that was a lesson to the world. Stop judging people because of their age. I seen
Yeah.
more old fools than young fools.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I grew up just looking at the adults in my life throughout my
Yeah.
entire life as a kid, being like, "What the fuck are these people doing? Like,
People
why are they
watching.
doing that?" And yeah, and
Mhm.
why are they saying this thing and then doing this thing? And I don't know. I remember in high school at a certain point just being like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done trying to like cultivate my light. I'm done being a light. I'm done. I just want to be like everyone else. I just want to be numb. I just want to have fun. I just want to be able to just look at things simply because I
Yeah.
wasn't. I couldn't do it. But I will tell you that when you try to do that, when you do that, when you forsake that sight, when you cover that light, when you snuff it out, oh my gosh, the pain and the suffering is so much greater than it was when that light was shining bright. you know, and when you were open to receiving and to seeing things as they are. And I just didn't have enough people around me to be like, we see you, you know, like it's all right, like stay on this path, we got you. And I think I was a light that was annoying and also disruptive to my family, right? So I would say my grandmother was there, but then she had this really wild Catholic thing going on, you know, that was very also suppressive.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, my gosh, you hit it right on the head, Dooney. Like that's it, you know, and it is a lot. And it's a
Mhm.
lot for a child. And so parents, if you know your kids are just different, if you know they're going through things, if they come to you, if they talk to you. I remember going to my parents and being like, I think I need to see somebody at like a young age. And they're like, oh, you'll be all right, boy. You'll be all right. You know, like go drink
Mhm.
some water. I'm just joking, but you know, that's a huge thing that parents would say, and kids were meant to be seen and not heard. Like we're not very far removed from that generation or those generations, and I think that people forget that too. And so that was my parents' reality. So it was all about them, and it was all about my grandparents, and it was all about the story of their lives, the drama of their lives, and they just weren't too concerned with what this kid had to say. And man, I didn't talk for a really long time too. Remember reading Maya Angelou Cage Bird Sings, or Why the Cage Bird Sings. And that story of her just like being quiet and not talking for a really long time, and that was me as well, because no one would listen. No one would listen, and so that's why I talk so damn much now. Cause I've been storing up all the stuff
Mm-hmm.
that I was observing and figuring out and doing mental math of throughout my life, you know, and it's still not making any sense until I was able, like I said, to just realize that I had to accept it for what it was and what it is, so that I could create something different and so that I could experience something different and be happy and be joyful and be grateful, because there's so much more than these awful things that happen to us and these inconvenient circumstances of birth and life. There's so much more.
Very, very much agreed there. And it is. It's like Dooney, you say it all the time. It's about the mindset, right? And I can appreciate, Stefan, what you were saying earlier, as well as, you know, as Dooney had put it, when you were your own therapist, psychologist, doctor, because it's true. Sometimes we have to be in that. I have, foundationally, as you kind of describe it, I come from a very similar family. Like I literally, this is no bullshit. I do not talk to one of my blood related family members at this point, because it's a family of narcissists and selfish individuals and people who think they know everything. And for a long time there, it was very tough for me to accept that, until I finally was like, man, fuck this. Like literally, I moved. I'm originally from Bridgeport, Connecticut. A big part of me moving away when I was 30 years old from my place of origin was large in part because of that. I mean, look, I had a job opportunity, but I said, man, fuck this. I got to get the fuck out of this place, because just the energy, even if they were 15 miles away, 20 miles away, because everybody was, right in that southern part of Connecticut for the most part, man, I had to fucking cut and run, because it was just that like overbearing. That was a way for me to kind of get a breath. So I understand and appreciate what you said there. And I had a choice. I mean, I wasn't in necessarily the right frame of mind, because I was still an alcoholic. I drank up until 4 years ago. I still am an alcoholic. I just choose every day not to touch any alcohol ever again in my life, because I know it's going to bring me to a very, very bad place. But that was, in that moment, that was really the only thing that I felt I could do in the moment. I just got to leave and literally get about 1,500 miles away. Now, that didn't necessarily, it gave me some breathing room, but it didn't solve the problem, ultimately as well. I mean, you have to be able to have the acceptance of that mindset. And Dooney, I mean, with your stories and your experience and talking about mindset, from the first time that I had a conversation with you, brother, like, man, the way that you describe mindset, with your 31 years in the monastery, bro, like that had hit me in a way that it had never hit me in at that time, the 43 years that I had been living, man. Um, so I thank you for
That
that, you know, because mindset is important. And I'm curious, anything that you want to add to that?
it's breaking those psychological chains, right? Slavery, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the thought. They want us to think about this place, um, this horrible place that everybody hates these people, that dislike and despise these people, to go to prison, right? But prison, they want us to think it's physical, but it's not.
Mm.
Prison is of the mind.
Hmm.
And if you can't think your way out of that compression that he spoke about, in that box that we
Mm-hmm.
compress
Yep.
ourselves in to fit in, to be accepted, right? To be seen, to be heard, right? Those natural human instincts that we have, right? Those natural feelings that we have just to be a part, right? Become snuffed out by self. No one controls your thoughts and your feelings and emotions. You have to give that power away. He understood that and claimed his power, honed it, and used it for whatever in the hell he wants to use it for now.
Mm-hmm. That's free will.
Yes,
And it's ultimately
liberation,
your,
right?
yes, and it's ultimately our, you know,
Liberation.
it's our paths to walk, right? Like at the end of the day, you know, the old saying goes, you come into this world alone, you're going to leave this world alone. Yes, you meet some acquaintances along the way, you meet some assholes along the way, you might have some family along the way. But at the end of the day, like, you know, as long as you're going out and just being a good human being, like what for me, I'll speak for myself. Like, what more can I ask from you, Stephonne? What more can I ask from you, Dooney? Like, if you're a good human being, then that's what it is, because you're walking your paths just like I'm walking my paths, just like the next person is walking their paths. It's just really a matter of, you know, what that path is going to look like for them as an individual as well. And, you know, man, the strength that comes with that, like you were talking about earlier, Stephonne, once you truly realize that as the individual that you are, and then you fully embrace it. I mean, we kind of started talking about the power of that, you know, because a lot of what we've been talking about today, and I love this word, and people are very afraid of this word, vulnerability, right?
Mm.
And for a long time, very similar to what you were discussing earlier, you know, when you were talking about, you know, what the expectations were of, you know, your father of becoming this, you know, athlete, right? um you know, that's how it was for me, in the sense that, like, you know, well, this is the patriarch of my life, this is the father figure in my life, whatever the case might be. But maybe I didn't want that path, right? Maybe that path wasn't necessarily for me, whether I knew it or not. um and I did, I always was afraid of being vulnerable, honestly. But once I learned the power that can come with it and fully embraced it, kind of as you had, or, you know, very much doing you and your experiences in the past as well, man, then it was just like, okay, this feels good. And we all know, at least most of us know, that are in tune enough, that we're not just gonna, you know, gain all that power from being vulnerable overnight, right? But I implore you, people, like, take that step, man. Even if you got to dip your toe in the water, feel a little bit of that, because it's so, as Dooney, you were putting it, bro, it's liberating. And then if you can embrace that and just continue to walk that path little by little, you start to build that habit of acceptance, of being vulnerable, and knowing that there is strength that comes with that as well. Yeah, I'm curious, you know, Stephonne, and then Dooney, you as well. You know, am I kind of on the right path there? Again, I'm speaking about my experiences, but what does that mean for the paths that you have walked on and are continuing to walk on day in and day out with respect to being vulnerable?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think absolutely you're on the right path. And I think realizing that everyone is figuring it out. Like everyone is really honestly playing a game of pretend, trying to fit the pieces together of this big, beautiful, complex, ghetto, divine puzzle
Mm-hmm.
of life. And so that in itself gives you a lot of grace for others, but for yourself. And I think you just have to be courageous. And I think courage, I think people think is something that is given to you or something that you can, get after you watch a million self-help videos and podcasts. But courage is literally just putting one foot in front of the other. And when you keep walking, you may look around you at any given point and there won't be one motherfucker around you. It'll be you. And you have to have the courage to keep putting one foot in front of the other, no matter who is at your back or at your side, And I think by being vulnerable and stepping into that darkness, into that unknown, you are experiencing it and becoming enlightened and enlightening, the unknown. And you're doing it for others then too. I think that a lot of times we think we're helping other people through charity and through like all of these things that we want to do, but it really is about like getting something back, which is like so empty, and you're not going to get anything back from that except a bunch of nothing. And it's through really like answering your authentic call and being vulnerable to not knowing and it being okay and figuring it out and finding it out that it's going to give you a testimony that's going to give you a path forward through whatever your artistry is or whatever your skill or your trade is. And that is what is going to help somebody. And that is what is going to make you actually be present and discover who you are and your unique function, because we all have a unique function for being here. And that's what I'm concerned about, is like, why am I here?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that once we are able to hone in to that, then I think we're able to be vulnerable, because we're just not subject to the other frequencies. Like we're confident and we're strongly fit within our own makeup. And so I can show up and just be like, oh, okay, this is me, this is what I got to say, this is who I am. And I don't know if y'all rocking with it or not, but this is it. So then it's not even a question of vulnerability at a certain point. It's just authenticity.
No, you're
and
right.
um and I think that's just powerful, and
Well, and
that's
it's
it.
the other thing that you said there is courage, right? Being courageous, right? And what you were talking about, hit me towards the end there when you were talking about, you know who I am, whether as an artist or whatever the case may be. And I think we all understand as artists. Well, at least if you're really understanding of what artistry is, you're not you're not going to be the artist for everybody, and that's
Hmm.
okay, right? And I think there's courage in that, and in of itself. Dooney, talking about that word courage, it really takes me back to the conversation that you and I were having just, it might have been yesterday morning, honestly, when you talked about, the neighborhood that you ended up moving into, and it's you and a bunch of non-melanated folk, right? Who have a fear of what they don't know, or as kind of Stephonne was talking about earlier, they've been told their whole life that, hey man, you see this type of person in general, it's just for whatever feelings, stay away, or it's a bad person. And man, we're going to skip the word vulnerability with you, because bro, you accept the power that you have within, and you've done that for a long time, and I know that about you, and that's why I'm skipping that word with you, and I'm going straight to the word courage, because you have, through that process, let's not skip that part of it, through that process of you being vulnerable, in your growth process and your mindset as you needed to at the time that your path said that you needed to be, leading up to courage, man. You can have, and anybody can have that hate or a feeling towards somebody who might feel a certain way, but you were courageous enough to literally knock on their door and be like, yo, what's up? I'm John Wyndham. Let's have a conversation.
Mhm.
Mm.
Right? So, I'm curious to, whether you want to talk on that story specifically or not, just courage. What courage means to you, whether in that scenario or another scenario that you might be able to share. Because I think that's a very another important word that's coming out of this conversation today.
Well, let me say this. The world's fucked up because there's not enough courageous people, right? That have the courage to delve into themselves, to deal with the muck and the mire and the ugly that they may, you know, have to deal with when they go unpacking and go and looking inside of themselves. It takes courage to face that. It takes courage to accept who you are. It takes courage to get through those things that help shape and form who you are. Those traumas, right? Big traumas, little traumas, don't matter, right? It helps and shape and form who we are. And it takes courage to deal with that. And that's what he had to do. He had to be courageous enough to say, let me look at myself.
Mm.
Because until you look at yourself, how can you find yourself?
Mm. Mm.
Until you know who you are, you cannot know what you want. If you don't know what you want, you don't know where you're going. You're lost. And it takes courage to find that and to do that. Self introspect. And a lot of
So,
people go for help to get that.
hmm
But again, I say we didn't always have doctors and psychologists and all those things. We were just right figuring it out.
Yeah.
We always looking for a way out and looking for answers that only you have and finding your purpose. Finding your purpose. We have to find ourselves to find our purpose. Otherwise, we're just existing. We're not living. We just get up every day in the same mode every day. Automatic pilot, numb, having to
Mm.
continue to stay numb just to make it through. But when you find yourself, you you realize you are the high,
Mm.
right? You realize you are it, right? You everything you are enough. Everything is within you,
Mm.
right? But it starts from one willing to be vulnerable and having the courage to do it, and then loving self to do something about it.
man,
And if
so
you
true.
think about it, what other choice is there? What other choice is there? And the longer you put it off, the worse it gets, And that's why some people never even take the steps because it just seems like too much. And
Mm-hmm.
I really hope that we do get to come back here and learn again, not
Mm-hmm.
just for my sake, but for other people's sake,
Mm-hmm.
because some people just don't even know where to start. And some people have these realizations when they are in the last quarter of their lives, and they can't make up time. And that's what really like makes me sad. And I think about my dad, and I think about some of our final conversations, and it lets me know that I'm on the right path, and that I'm helping other people discover these things earlier, so that they can be present sooner, because otherwise we're just reacting and we're not responding. Otherwise, we are just pointing fingers all over the place instead of right here, right? And when the internal changes, the external changes, right? It doesn't change until the internal changes, and no one else has the tools or the wherewithal, they may be able to help us a little bit, like a therapist, a doctor, whatever. But we ultimately, we
Gotcha.
are ultimately the ones that are going to save us. You know what I mean? No one else is coming to save you.
Mhm.
No one else is
Mhm.
gonna make that incredible phone call that you're just longing for, that's gonna say, I'm so sorry for the way I did this to you, and I'm so sorry. No, no, it's not gonna happen. I can promise you, after many a sleepless, suffering night, that it is not going to happen. You have to answer your call. You have to pick up the phone for you, and you have to tell all of those versions of yourself that thought they weren't enough, that thought they weren't worthy, that thought that they didn't have the agency and autonomy and power that you have now, that, hey, it's okay. It's all right. And I love you. And come up from out of there and join me here in this present moment, because we are enough and we are worthy. And it is only a journey that you can take on your own. And we get so bogged down by holding everyone else accountable in our lives, holding our government accountable, holding our family accountable, holding our best friend accountable. And a lot of times these people don't even ask us to be doing that. Now our government, right, we vote on them motherfuckers, right? They need to be, they need a whooping, child. They need a big
Mhm.
old
Right,
whooping.
right, right.
But really the only person you can hold accountable is you. And so, especially when
Mhm.
I look at the news cycle and I look at my feeds on social media, I have things to say every once in a while, but for the most part, the things that I have to say are like, how can we get past this judgment and move forward? How can we stop just having to be so right? Everyone has to be right, but like everyone is right. And how do we get it right together? How do we get it the most right for the most people possible? And that to me is our mission in the service that we can give each other once we, like you said, know who we are and know what we want. And we have to quiet ourselves and still ourselves and allow the time for that to happen. And if you're someone that's just like addicted to doom scrolling, just take 10 minutes, 20 minutes of your day to shut it all off. Go take a walk. Don't even listen to music. Don't even listen to music. Just listen to nature and the sounds and the vibration, the frequency of the natural world around you, or nothing at all. If you're in a quiet place, or you can find a quiet place to go, but just shut it down. Shut it down, because the calamity and the chaos of this world has always been and will always be. And I hope that there is a day where everyone is able to raise up and we evolve together and we are back in the garden. Ciao. We are all seeing it. We are all seeing each other's light and seeing each other clearly and with love. I pray that that day comes, but you can't wait for it. You can't wait for it. Like it has to start with you. And woo, child, y'all done got me preaching. Y'all got me preaching.
Hey, that's what these conversations are for. And and it's about choice, though, right? And
Yeah.
it's about choice. Like Dooney, you and I talk about it all the time on in these conversations, or our Saturday morning conversations. We'll put the guns down, we outside. Like, man, there is a series of choices that leads us up to a certain moment or moments in life that could be defining, good, bad, or indifferent. But that's that free will that you were talking about earlier, Stephonne. Like, we do have that choice to heal ourselves in a positive manner, no different than we have a choice to, which I wouldn't necessarily consider it healing ourselves. I would consider it more attempting to heal ourselves through a numbing or a self-medicating manner, as I had chosen for so many years, and you kind of had put it, for yourself at a point in time in your life as well. And I think not a lot of people give themselves, as you were kind of saying there, really enough credit or the strength that they really have within themselves, because they allow society and that darkness that comes with society to creep into them subconsciously, where to a point, again, it might just be a thought, but then over time it builds. You're not good enough. It builds. You're not good enough. You know, I always use this analogy. It's like taking the finest person in high school that walks the halls, and everybody's like, yo, that person is fine. But if you tell that person that they're ugly enough times, well, they're going to think that they're ugly. Right. So, like, what choice will you make? And Dooney, I'm curious, what are your thoughts on the importance of the choices that we make in life? And then I'm curious what your thoughts are on that as well, Stephonne, especially as it pertains to your path and your journey. But Dooney, I'm curious what your thoughts on just the power of choice, or the lack of power even of choice, if you so choose it, because it could go one way or the other.
Yeah. So I mean, it all starts with loving self. If you don't love yourself, your choices will reflect that.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Period. Every choice you make reflects who you are, right? And when people spew hate, they don't like themselves. They can't. People that's biased, prejudiced, and all those things, it's a reflection of what's within themselves. They're deflecting, and we suffer for them not loving themselves. So it all comes back to, like I said, just teaching and helping people understand the fact that they need to love themselves, bro. If everyone loved themselves, there would not be war, right? If everyone wasn't so caught up in what society creates. Just imagine this, Stephon. No labels. A world with no
Mm.
labels. I can't hate you. I can't not like you because I'm disliking a label. And we take these labels that society has placed and taught us how to place, and we use them labels to navigate our lives. We're navigated by labels. We're told how to feel by label. I wouldn't be a nigga, wouldn't be a fag, you wouldn't be a cracker. No labels. What?
Very much true.
We give their labels power when we don't love self.
Mhm.
It's so true, and that's what comes with the choices, man, that we make as individuals. And to the point that you made, Dooney, and then I certainly want to get your thoughts, Stephonne. For those people that choose to live in a world strictly held by labels, or what society tells them that they should be living by, that's a choice, right? And whether you want to call somebody a narcissist or whatever the case might be, you can have empathy for those people, right? But it's also a choice if you're going to continue to allow yourself to be in that constant state of those individuals who are going to think one way or the other, instead of thinking in a world of no labels and seeing something other than a human being that's sitting across from them. Um,
Prison.
man, yes, yes. Stephonne, you very much along the way, you made choices to not be in those scenarios anymore, right? Like,
Woo!
I'm curious, what was that experience like of finally like realizing, shit, man, you know what? These people are who they are. Yes, I have some empathy, maybe it's even some sympathy for those individuals, because like Dooney, you were saying, and Stephonne, like you've been saying this whole time, though, as individuals, we are the only ones that can correct ourselves, right? If we choose to, if we want to
Mhm.
accept that we might need to change for some kind of better. But what was that experience for you like when you're like, man, all right, cool. You just who you are, but I am choosing not to keep myself in this prison, as Dooney had put it, any further.
You know, I can say that it's sweet now, but I can tell you that it's a motherfucker at first. And there's still some times where it's hard and it's lonely.
Yep.
But through that, if you have the willingness to keep putting one foot in front of the other, there is more bliss and there are your people, you know, you attract them, and when you're becoming a better version of yourself, you are going to become an inconvenient version of yourself for the people that are used to the old model of you,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so you just have to also prep yourself for that. And for a lot of it, for like really close relationships, you can't possibly prep yourself for that. But it's through that loss that there becomes an understanding that you were never meant to hold on so tight to somebody in the first place. You know, we're all here for seasons and reasons, and it doesn't mean that you don't love those people. It doesn't mean that you don't have empathy or sympathy. It doesn't mean that you completely have to shut them out of your lives, but it just means that in being true to yourself, um, you may not be true to other people anymore, you know? And so it's not this like, I think people hear us have these conversations, or they hear people talk about gratitude or joy or just trying to like get control of their mind, and they're like, what is all that woo woo? What is what is wrong with them? Don't they see what's going on? Like, yeah, and that's why I'm trying to see beyond it. You know? And otherwise, we are just bulls in china shops, just like wrecking this world and like inflicting our own pain and trauma upon everybody else, trying to make the world around us and everyone else's world mirror what we've had to experience and what we think we're trapped in. And it's just not reality. It's not reality. And there's something better than your really like sad reality that you're keeping yourself in. And I think with labels, I think we have to ask ourselves why they exist and who benefits from the labels. There was someone that was very smart. There was a group of people that were very smart in each era of human civilization that looked at what was going on, peeped game, and said, yo, if I label this person this and label this person this, or if I make this explanation up for these people of why this is happening, then they'll tell their kids about it, and then their kids will tell their kids about it, and then their kids will tell their kids about it, and we'll keep this dirty little secret that keeps us in power, that keeps us with all of this external power and receiving all of the authentic power that you willingly give away and don't even realize, because you were not attending your mind. And we made it so that you didn't have time to attend to your mind and to fortify it and to learn. And we burned your books and we wiped your records so that you don't even have knowledge of who you were to know who you can be. Like, it is like these mad scientists literally like dropping in different chemicals and looking for different reactions and putting together equations that are ancient, people, that are ancient. And that's why so much has changed, but so little has actually changed.
Man, so true. And young Vincetti, I think, hit the nail on the head in a way that I think systematic racism. It's a system built not just on racism, it's classism, it's socialism, it's religion. It's the goal is of whoever, as Stephon, you were kind of putting it over time, who's really ever controlling things, right? Divide and conquer is their goal. And how do you do that? By what you both have been talking about, labels. Because if you take this thing, and I have imaginary things in my hands, okay, people. So I'm not talking about anything but this imaginary shit going on in my hands, okay? Like you take this thing and I give it a label, and I take this thing and I give it a label. Well, if I have 75% who are liking this fake thing that's literally just a fucking thought and idea in my hand versus the 25%, since 85% of the people in this world are followers, where do you think they're going to lean? And again, I'm just talking about a fake idea that I have in my hand right now versus that. And it gives the power to those who are looking to create those divides, because you have 8.2 billion people in the world, right? You have, I don't know, what is it, 350 million maybe in the United States, 700, I don't even know how many. It's a lot. But if you can take a thought, and that's where everything already, always begins, right? It starts with a thought or an idea, and you put enough marketing behind it, and it doesn't have to be dollars, people. It can just be enough people getting behind this fake thing in my hand. But if I really wanted to take this fake thing in my hand, if I wanted to give it life, I could do that, and I can get enough people to back that thought and idea. But again, it's like fear, right? Like I don't succumb to the word fear. You want to know why? Because fear is nothing more than an idea. And I'm not going to believe in an idea that might take some kind of power away from me as an individual or the choices that I make. So, thank you for sharing that, young Rossetti, because I think that's so true. It's a system built on labels, like Stephonne and Dooney have been putting it. And man, it's a sad world that we live in. But again, we have choices as individuals if we want to buy into those ideas or not, because we do have that free will that Stephonne was talking about.
And we can help other people liberate themselves by being our liberated versions, or trying to be as liberated as we can be.
Yes. Yes.
And waking them up. Our people need to be awoken, right? Because they don't have to think. Just think about how many labels there are. That is what's guiding your thoughts, those labels. You don't even have to think when you see something. You see something that's labeled, you automatically have a feeling or reaction to that, what is labeled. We're not even having a lot of our own thoughts, our own feelings and opinions.
It's so true.
Everything is labeled.
Dooney, say that again. Say that again for the people in the back and those with growing potatoes out their ears, bro, because I don't think they heard you, bro.
So what I'm saying is labels. Everything in this world is labeled. So we have a feeling and a thought and a reaction to labels. So what thought are we having on our own periodically throughout the day or throughout the day? Our thoughts are controlled and we don't even understand.
Because we're programmed. This world and society tries to program us. And I want to talk about a label.
I don't know how I feel about Michael. The label told me I'm gonna pick this label for Mike and I'm gonna pick this label for Stephonne. I'm just going with it. I ain't asking myself, how do I feel about this brother being white or this brother being queer? I'm gonna let society with these labels dictate that, and I ain't even got to think about it.
Because that's the easy path for some. And those are the people that need that empathy.
No, that's the psychological chains of slavery, bro. That was by design. It wasn't a happenstance or any of that. This is by design, bro. This is how they control society, bro. Labels, bro. They control our neighborhoods with labels, bro. They control everything with labels, bro. We ain't running nothing. We think we running something. What are we running?
Away. That's where we running. In Nikes, child. Just do it. Crazy. $200 Nikes!
And we ain't supposed to be wearing those shoes, right? They bamboozled us to believe we supposed to be wearing shoes. and pay $200 for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The label if you don't have none
Man,
on.
man, yo, that's so true. Yo, that's so wow.
Ah, see? But like you don't get to this point until you go through the things
Yeah.
and you are okay with being uncomfortable
Mm-hmm.
and putting yourself in different situations and learning new things and meeting new people and having conversations like this. But also like in that 10 to 20 minutes that I was talking about of silence or just time with yourself, like just observe your thoughts. Don't like don't like go into them and reminisce. Just like pay attention to what comes up. And if you are someone that has a piece of paper or a journal or your phone and notes or your laptop, like take note of what those thoughts are.
Yeah.
And then go back at the end of the day or the next day and really look at those thoughts and be like, why did I have those thoughts? Are those my thoughts? How do I really actually feel about this? And then you start to become more familiar with your own mind and the difference between the collective mind and your individual mind. And that hot mess version of me, child, because I was a hot mess out here, child. I was a hot, buttery mess out here in this world. Um, they just didn't know their mind, and they thought that their mind was their enemy. And we don't realize that, like, we make our minds our enemies. Like, there's nothing wrong with the mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way that we interact with it. And obviously, if you're someone that goes through schizophrenia or a wide range of higher stakes mental illnesses, it's a little bit of a different story. But you, oh man, we have so much more power than we want to have. I think that's what it is too. Because with great power comes great responsibility. Come on, Spider Man. Um, and
Mhm.
a lot of us don't want that responsibility, and we want it to be on our ancestors. You talk to people about slavery or reparations, and they're like, "Well, I'm not racist. I didn't do that. That was Uncle Ben back in the day cracking whips." You know what I mean? Like, what y'all want me to do about that? It's like, uh, come
Mhm.
on now, come on now. So,
No, I'm right there with you. And one thing I want to make sure that we do talk about today. And before I get there, I want to say this very clearly to everybody watching this now live, or that will be watching this in the future. I know that the three individuals that you are watching here right now, myself, Stephonne, and my brother Dooney, I know for a fact that every single one of us believe in a higher power. Okay,
mhm.
we believe in a higher power that is not of this world. Okay, but with that said, one thing I want to touch on is religion real quick. Okay,
Mm.
because worship at the chapel,
Yeah.
I have heard it, I have watched the video, and oh my God, you holy rollers out there that believe in, again, no different when we're talking about labels. Religion is a business, okay? There's a difference. I'm going to speak for myself and religion versus believing in a higher power. How many religions do you have out there? Well, as many or more than there are car makes out here or sneaker makes out here. Religion, Catholicism, and I grew up in the Catholic Church. Catholicism, any label that you want to give it out there, it's a brand, in theory, right? Everybody does, believe. So that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about distinguishing the difference, right? Worship at the chapel. Oh man, there's gonna be some people out there. They're gonna listen, or they're gonna hear. They're gonna, oh my God, they are gonna freak the fuck out. They're
Oh,
gonna
they
freak
already
the fuck out.
are.
Oh, I know they are. And I was in the growing up in the Catholic Church. I was an altar boy. I was a lecturer by the time I was 11, 12 years old, getting up there and reading out of the book. And I believe in the messages of the higher power. I believe in the faith and the hope that the higher power, gives me. And I want to be clear, people. That's not what this track is about. It's
Mm-mm.
about taking the power back. And I'm going to let you speak more to that, Stephonne, because I'm curious, where the concept for this part of your artistry came from, with worship at the chapel, because it's not about dogging on anything other than the fakeness that comes with brands of any kind, but specific to, what you're speaking on in that song. So I'm curious, where that just kind of started for you, this specific track, how it grew for you, and where it originated.
Well, I think
First, what is your what is first, Stephonne, before you do that, what is the most you think hardest verse in there that you say in that song?
woo.
That kind of like a synopsis, just a synopsis of that
Good way to
song.
put it, bro.
Something that really that yeah, something one of the, what part that
Well,
you think it'll tell
I
the
think
whole
the
story.
hook really
Mm-hmm.
does such an incredible job. I worship at the chapel. Religion is for assholes. When I play make believe, I make it fun, not mean. I worship at the chapel.
Mm,
Bigots are a hassle. Nothing is black and white
mm,
after you're like 5. That's like,
mm.
that's hard. That's
Mm-hmm.
hard. And that is the truth of it for me. And growing up Catholic, but also like on my dad's side, having these like pastors that made their own church that are on some, they're on their thing. They're drinking their own Kool-Aid over there. I just once again saw a lot of people saying one thing and then doing a different thing. And I also saw how this power structure of priests throughout my entire life through private schools and going to church every Sunday and on the weekdays too, because I went to Catholic school and, meeting these men in robes and confessing my sins and wondering who they confess to. Like it's always been a part of me. It's always been a part of my story in my life, and I think I shied away from it for a really long time because I was like, how in the world could could there be a God and this be happening and this world be this way? And I have gone through what I've gone through, and you find out at whatever point it is for you out there that there definitely is a higher power and there definitely is something going on that is beyond all of this. And my journey to getting to myself has been a spiritual journey, and so it has been about finding God, but also finding God within myself and seeing the divinity of us all. The divinity that we forsake and that we don't want because of the responsibility that comes with that. The divinity that allows us to create and create a better world alongside the creator or the universe or God or goddess or however you identify that power. And Sean M. Stewart, who is the co-writer of this song, who I've written a couple of songs with, sent me this track and sent me the hook actually, and I was like, "What? Whoa, 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 whoa!" It was just at such a important part of my journey and my spirituality. Like it just hit me. I think it was like last year at some point when I first heard it. And at first I was kind of like intimidated by it. And I was like, I don't know, like let me take a second to decide if I really want to write the verses to this and add my sauce. And Forgive Me Father, which was the single before this, kind of just poured out of me. And it's right on track. Like it's my artistic journey, and I look to people like Sinead O'Connor and even Prince and how they talk about religion throughout their careers and how they use that in music and how they try to hold up a mirror to people to see how systematic it is and how personal your relationship with a higher power should be. Even looking at Little Richard, and like how judgmental he was of so many people, and then later in his life is like, yo, like there is a higher power, but like all that stuff that I was talking about is not the jam. It's not going to bring anyone closer to God or to the best versions of themselves. And being black and having black skin and knowing that I'm beautiful, child, regardless of what the world thinks, and that I have a right to my sexuality, and my autonomy and to my body. I don't know, it just kind of all came together into one laser beam. And when I write, if it's a song like Worship at the Chapel, it's a 5 minute write. It's like this. And those verses just flew through me. I believe that I'm divinely inspired, and I feel like all artists are. You know, you tune into a frequency, you make something visible that was invisible. And I think what the verses challenge people to do is look at the different meanings of words and how words enslave us and how labels enslave us. But it also puts a mirror up, even through the visuals for Worship at My Chapel, to people to shine a light on the things that make them so riled up and get them so upset. You know, it's like, why are you having this reaction? Like, you're not even listening to the lyrics, are you? Like, you're not even looking at the material and this imagery. It's not even words or labels sometimes, it's imagery. And so if people see a cassock or see a priest collar or see a chapel or see all of these things, they automatically have these repressive, wild, gnarly thoughts about people and the opposite of what these holy relics mean. And we're all holy relics. We're all holy relics. We all belong. God loves each and every one of us. And He loves me. He loves me. And He loves queer people and He loves the trans community. I know people don't agree with everything like T.S. Madison stands for or says, but I think that that's someone that I look to that really does believe in a higher power as well. And to 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 spit the hate and the the really crazy comments that are on my Instagram page right now is is just so, it's so unintelligent and it's so easy. But if you really look at what I'm saying, like for instance, in the first verse, don't tell me what I want, don't tell me what I need, because you don't know what I want and what I need. Heaven is all inside of me. I'll open wide and make you see. That's not about busting it open, but if that's what you need it to mean for you, child, that's what it can mean. It is, I'm
Wow.
opening myself up and I'm having a willingness and a vulnerability to show you all of me and to be my authentic self, regardless of the adversity and regardless of the conditions around me, because that's who I was sent to be. Know how to be a devil. You know how to be a devil. You must, because you're saying that that's what I do. Show me now I'm on my knees, because that is the subjugation, that is the oppression, that is the adversity that is put upon us. You know, they want to keep us on our knees while they stand and they do these experiments on us and market us and push us and make us react and go which way to keep them in power. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, all up inside of me is not about four men all up inside of me. It is about the word. It is about the the truest of those words, and words from all different faiths and all different religions, because we're all pretty much saying the same thing, being inside of me, but also because it's inside of me, being inside of you. These people, these priests, these ministers, these prophets, these saints, they are no different than you. Jesus, if you believe in Jesus, even said that everything that I'm doing, you can do in more. Do you know what I'm saying? And I just think that people claim and tout that they love the word and that they are so Christ like and so Christian, and they are so far from that. They are so far removed from it, and they are so far from actually being able to intelligibly use their minds to read, to read and to listen and to understand. And we understand what we want to understand. And a lot of people just don't want to understand anything that makes their lives more complicated. I'll make you believe, go pray a rosary. Like there are people out here praying for me in the name of Jesus and praying for my downfall and praying for my damnation and praying for, you know, when the AIDS epidemic was just ah so incredibly just horrific. People praying that it spread even more to wipe out beautiful human beings. And I don't know who they praying to, child, but you ain't God don't play about me.
Mhm.
So you better watch out, child. You know, you must be praying for yourself. I'll make you
And
believe, go pray. Oh my
well,
gosh.
and you know what? To that point, I have a question for those same
Woo!
people that you're talking about right now, because when you guys come out and you hear about all these priests who have done things to children, and I grew up with one of them. Luckily enough, I was spared from experiencing that. But and I was
Hmm.
always suspect. Like, you know, let's take the wine for example. I was sharing this conversation or this story with my wife and my daughter yesterday. As a matter of fact, wine is the blood of Christ, right? When you go to Holy Communion in the Catholic Church, okay. So tell me why, when I was an altar boy, and I always kept myself around a couple of us if we were going to do some extra work in the church at that time. If it's such a sacrament, why was this priest saying that it's okay for us to consume wine when we were just going to help church? That wasn't a sacrament. We just happened to be in a church alone with a priest. But go ahead and have some wine if you want some wine. Come visit me at the rectory. Let me take
Hmm.
you out for ice cream, right? And I was emotionally intelligent enough at the time to be suspect. Again, I mean, I was still a certain age where like I got things, but I didn't initially get them. And lo and behold, 25, 30 years later, when I look in the Connecticut Post, oh, Father Joe Malloy, da 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 da. So, in sharing that story to those same people that are sitting here hating on you and wanting your damnation and your downfall. And for anybody that's watching this right now, or anybody that's sharing, I'm asking you. This is literally a true question for you to ask. You don't got to share the answer with me, but are you saying the same thing about those priests that are giving you the word of God every Sunday when you go to your safe place of church? Because looking back at it, it wasn't really a safe place for me. Luckily, nothing
Mm-mm.
happened to me in that respect. But looking back at it now, that wasn't a safe place for me. And I know for a fact that you can't tell me that that is a person. And again, let's be clear, not everybody's like that. But
Right.
again, the point of it is, in any profession that anybody is doing, those are those type of people. But you can't sit here and say certain things about one person when this priest in this scenario is out here doing things like this. Because if you're going to sit here and tell me that God wants that, man, you need Jesus, you need an exorcist, you need a psychologist,
Mm.
you need a whole lot of different things, because you person that I'm talking to right now, there's something seriously wrong and miswired in your brain, or you are just so much of a follower that could be influenced that you need a whole something different, man. And listen, that's just the truth, because that's what we talk when we're outside. We talk,
Hmm.
and that's a literal story, true story that I'm very much well aware of. So again,
And there's so many true stories, right? But I don't see anyone banning priests from
mhm.
bathrooms. I don't see anyone saying y'all need to pay taxes because y'all been, do you know what I'm saying? But you're going to take away gay and trans rights and repeal gay marriage, which is not about not about what people think it is. It's not about people wanting to get married in a church. It's like I've been with this person for 15 to 20 years or longer of my life, and they're going to die, and now all of a sudden I don't have any rights to anything that we built together or a home together or any like families. Like people just don't use their brain or their minds, and they're worried about me and some lingerie in front of chapels and churches, and they're not worried about these priests. They're not worried about these archbishops. They're not worried about these rabbis. They're not worried about any of these religious leaders, right? Because it appends their reality and what they have grown up to know to be true, that has given them so much solidity. And if this tears that up for you that easily, then how solid is it? How solid is your faith really? And your dedication and your religion and your beliefs, right? How solid are they? How true are they for real if they are that easily threatened by people who are not doing anything to you, that are not bothering you, that don't even want anything but the same rights that you have? And why should they not have them? Because they love differently, because they use a pronoun, because they don't feel at home in their own body and see who they truly do. Like it makes me so frustrated. It makes me so frustrated because it just doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way.
No.
So I think that, like, it makes me double down, if anything, you know, like all of that hate, all of those reactions. I feel like what Junie was saying earlier is like some people need to be woken up and some people need to be disrupted, you know. They need their reality or their goggles to be cracked so that they can really see what's going on outside of them. And that's my reason, you know, like that's my reason for being here. It's one of them is to be a light and to be a disruptor and to be a truth teller. And I've lived with dishonesty for a really long time, especially when I was drinking, child, and doing a bunch of coke and you name it, and having a bunch of empty ass sex. You know, like I was living with a lot of dishonesty because of a lot of things that had happened to me too at a very young age that I didn't know how to be honest about. And when I was honest about, no one believed. So that's what worship at the chapel means for me. That's what these visuals mean for me. And I hope that more people are able to identify and see that, and that it resounds with them. And whoever it's sowing discord in, I welcome that too, because maybe through that discord, there will be some harmony and some light that comes to their lives, and maybe they'll have a personal experience with someone in their family or a close friend that will change or help them to change their hearts, because we all deserve grace, and we all deserve to be able to figure this out in the ways that are unique to us. And if they're not a threat to you figuring your life out and living your life authentically, then let people be. Just let people be and love them. Um, just love them. We just don't even know what that means.
That's all we've asked for centuries. Just let us be.
It's not asking too much, is it? In the grand scheme of it, for some it is, yes, but like, God,
like colonialism. Look at colonialism. Look at divine sovereignty and people having to go into Africa and Asia and South America and Mexico and the United States and the islands. It's all of us too. So if you think you separate, or you think you special or something because of the church you go to or your denomination, I'm sorry, baby. But someone came in and was meddling with you too and didn't think that you were supposed to just be. They didn't let you be. They wanted themselves to be at your expense. And they are living in their fullness, running us ragged around here. Woo!
Messing with
in the name of God, in the name of heaven, in the name of Jesus, or in the name of Allah, or in the name of, do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just so insane, and we buy it.
It's
You
blasphemous.
buy it.
It's blasphemous, is what it
It's
is.
blasphemous. But I'm
And
blasphemous. Okay.
I know it's crazy. Like I'll say this to that, and then Dunia, I definitely, any additional thoughts that you want to add to it, and we're getting to the hour and 30 mark, so I want to be respectful of everybody's time, either tuning in with us or here on this live cast with us. We'll start to wind down here momentarily, but if you all have never watched the documentary Religulous by Bill Maher, I
Mm.
implore you to go stream Religulous by Bill Maher. It is going to be such an eye-opening experience for a lot of people, because the thought of religion, as we're kind of just talking about, again, people, to be clear, if you're just hopping into the conversation now, we all are talking that there is a higher power. Okay, what we're discussing here in this simple human conversation and interaction that we're having is the brand of religion being kind of ran as a business, because that's what it is. So we're not discounting the higher power that is above all of us. Let's be very clear of that. What we're discussing here is the thought of, of religion as a brand. Okay, because no different than we talked about, the priest that I spoke about earlier, Stephonne, how you expanded on it. What they do in a lot of those scenarios, when a priest is caught in a scenario or it comes out, there are some, what do they do? In more cases than not, all they do is pluck that priest out of the diocese that they're out of, and they put them into another one as far away as they realistically possibly can. So they're not fixing the problem, they're just hiding the problem. And that's what we're talking about, people. It's, if it's bad for business, it's bad for the brand. No different in the entertainment industry or whatever industry the case might be. Well, we gotta take it away because it's bad for business, right? So, man, that go watch Religionless, people. It's somewhere out on a streaming service out there. I know that for a fact. Dooney, your thoughts on the thought of branding within religion, or as some religions, or, and again, it's not all of them, and it's not all, it's not necessarily every church within like a diocese, for example, in the Catholic Church that I grew up with, but people, I think, utilize it. Again, my experience is people have utilized religion as more really a business than really anything. What are your thoughts on that, bro?
Back again to the psychological change of slavery, right? It's mental manipulation, and I'm gonna do it with words, with God. It's the institution, right? It's the institution that we're talking about. The Catholic Chapel, it's an institution created by who? And why would I make laws to ensnare me and my people? Why would I do that? Right? No, no. We're going to make it to where we deal with our people and we deal with ourselves, because we know that we're going to be in that situation one day. So we're not going to make a law that ensnare me to lose my liberty. I'll just remove you to another space, because it's okay what you did. You just got found out there. So I have to move you to another secret location where nobody knows you. But I mean, it's the same thing as prison. It's the same thing as hospitals. The same as the mental health ward or the elderly centers. It's those people that's less desired by them, right? That they're doing this to, right? Those people that create the laws is not going to create laws, like I said, that ensnare their own people. So they're not protecting us. It's not about you being protected at, that church or that synagogue or whatever it is, right? Only people is protected is the ones that run it. Everything else is prey, collateral damage. And people, I try not to get I'm not religious. I'm
Mm-hmm.
spiritual.
Yep.
I was in a game. I know what it feels like to be in a game. I know exactly what it feels like. And I don't want to be in a religious gang either. I got God. That's it. Right. That's all we need is God, man. Those things are created by man. And man will fail you.
So very true.
And God don't need no entourage.
Nope.
God don't need no gang. He's God. He, she, they, God. Right? They don't need none of that. They don't need you. They don't need you hating and doing all that craziness
For
you
real.
doing.
For
God
real.
don't. God didn't ask you to
Right.
do that. Stop it. Stop it
Right.
now.
Mm-hmm. Very, very true, man. Very, very true.
Oh
Wow.
wow.
Um,
Very enlightening
Thank
conversation,
man,
man.
y'all.
isn't that the truth? One thing I definitely want to make sure that we get in about your artistry as a whole before we go, because it was very important for me to speak on worship at the chapel, and not just because it's fresh in my mind, because it did just come out on Friday. People go watch the video. It is on YouTube. It is on all DSPs out there. But one thing I want to make sure that we touch on, Stephonne, is I want you to just let the people know, how would you describe your artistry? How would you describe specifically your music, since we're touching right now on the music side of things with worship at the chapel? Because it's your music and your artistry is so much more than that. Just kind of how would you describe your music to individuals, and just please remind them where they can find your music.
Yeah, I'm the love child of Prince and Billie Holiday. I am an alternative genre queer singer songwriter, which means that I majored in music. I love music. So I write folk music. I write R&B. I am a rock and roller. I'm a punk rocker. I am blues. I am jazz. I am pop. I am electronic music, as you can hear with Forgive Me, Father, and with Worship at the Chapel. And I am someone that is not afraid to push the envelope and to fuse different styles and different lyrical techniques. I'm not afraid to spit a little bit. I can spit a little bit. It took me a while to admit that, because I wanted to pay respect to the greats, because I really love rap and hip hop, and I I am limitless. I am boundless, and I am so excited to fuck this thing up, to really get into this game and to be seen. I'm not afraid to be perceived, and that's taken me a long time to get to. And I'm just happy to be here now. And my music is on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, Deezer, iHeartRadio, literally everywhere that you stream. My music videos are all over YouTube and Vimeo and Apple Music as well, and all of those services that have it. You can go to www.stephonne.com, my official website, and you can find links to all of my social media and all of the services that my music is on. You can join Patreon. I've been dropping some demos there and some chapters from the novel that I wrote called Grandmothers from the Negro Avatar trilogy. So I'm also an author. But yeah, you can find me.
Mm.
You can find me everywhere, Shal. You'll find me in Rent in October, at Crown Center, at Musical Theater Heritage as Angel. So I'm really excited to step into that musical theater role and pay tribute to Jonathan Larson, and a really just pivotal time, I think, for queer folk and the nation in general dealing with HIV and AIDS. And I'll be at Lemonade Park on the 29th of this month, and then on the 12th of September for a headlining gig. And I hope to see y'all around throughout the course of this wild,
Mm.
blessed ride.
No, we're
Right.
here for it, man. We're here
Yes.
for it. We're gonna make sure that you get the final word if there's anything else that you would like to add. But Dooney, It start to be time to be winding down here. And if any final thoughts that you want to share with Stephonne, with the Outsiders, with both Stephonne and the Outsiders, or any final thoughts that you just want to share as far as any takeaways in general from this conversation that we had today, which to your point earlier has been a very, very enlightening and open and authentic conversation as always. So thank you, Stephonne.
I just want to say thank you, Stephonne, for sharing your openness and your vulnerability, because through that we learn. For understanding and sharing your process, because growth is a process, right? And you can't explain the process if you haven't been through it. The only way out of something is through it. And I thank you for sharing that, because our people need to hear that, to know it's possible and what that looks like. I look forward to seeing where you go from here. That light, allow it to shine. Keep shining that light. You have no choice, right?
Mm-hmm. Nope.
Stay your true, authentic self, man, and that's what living life is about. It's finding your true, authentic self and walking in that, no matter what nobody say. Cause what no one, I always say, what you eat don't make me shit, right? So
Wow.
stay on your path, and it was a pleasure meeting you. Truly engaging conversation, something our people needed to hear. So
Thank
thank you.
you. Thank you so much.
Nah, I'm gonna leave it at this. Again, thank you very much. If there's ever a remix opportunity of Worship at the Chapel, you got
Hey.
somebody sitting right in front of you right now that could drop a 16 and is on brand
Okay.
with what you're talking about there. And I'm right here in Kansas City, as I think you know at this point too. So we can make that shit happen for real, for real. But no, all kidding aside, thank you. We love being able to have these authentic conversations, as Dooney said, because authenticity in our minds, we know that it will always win no matter what. And it's always going to speak to the right people who are ultimately meant to hear it. And you are very much an individual, a creative, an artist, and a human being who was made for our platform of authenticity and having these enlightening and engaging conversations in a way that other people are afraid to have. But I don't care, because it's our motherfucking show and we outside, baby. So thank you, Stephonne. We appreciate you trusting us to have this conversation with you and come on and talk about it with us. With that said, any final thoughts of anything that you want to share with, or any final thoughts of anything that you just want to let the people know before we close the door on them and let them go back to their Sundays here?
No, just take some time to look in the mirror and say, I love you. Say, I love you. And just do your best to love those in your lives without conditions. And ask yourself what that looks like and what that means for you. And when you're able to do that at varying degrees, slower but surely, you'll open up and you'll free yourself and you'll free your mind in ways that like you couldn't have possibly imagined, and be open to the fullness and the beauty, all of the beauty of this life. And that's my hope for you. And those are my prayers for everyone in this entire world. So thank y'all for this incredible conversation and this time together. I just really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All love, man. All love. No, thank you very much. I'm going to end the stream, people. So make sure, if y'all have tapped in late to this conversation, not too long after I close the door on you, it is going to be available on the We Outside Live podcast channel, where there's a hella dope amount of conversations, about 18 months worth. So catch up if you're just